Hi, this is a super quick introduction to my husband. He said hello very briefly in another video, but I was going to do some rambling about Russia and the coronavirus and life in general, March 14th, 2020, but I wanted to introduce you to my husband, Jose Andres, and he's been along for this weird, crazy ride of me YouTubing, and he's very quiet, but what would you like to say to people who are tuning in?
Hola, ¿cómo están? No hablo inglés. Hi everyone.
What's your history with the organization? We'll do a longer video, but he has a very different history than I do. And what's interesting for me from like a psychological perspective is the brain of a born-in, me, versus the brain of a non-born-in, because we both have processed leaving the organization very differently. How did you get introduced to the organization of Jehovah's Witnesses?
I liked someone.
Not me.
And in high school, and then, the short story is like she said to go to the meetings, and I did go, and I was very different.
What were you raised?
Catholic, like very strict Catholic.
Like
going every day to church.
And
I hated it.
Oh, I was going to say, how was your Catholic upbringing experience?
I hated it. I hated going to church.
Why?
Because I think a lot, I analyze things a lot, and even though I was like at a very young age, I just started asking, like, things did not make sense. All this stuff that I used to talk about the Trinity and things like that, it was just extremely weird.
So if you esteemed yourself as a critical thinker and you saw the hypocrisy and the lack of logic you described in Catholicism, why do you think you weren't able to see those things with Jehovah's Witnesses and subsequently joined?
I don't think. Well, first of all, in the beginning, you see into like bad interpersonal things. I didn't see like the big, like the child sex abuse things like that, or the UN. I did find out about the UN in the early 2000s.
Would you say that you were extremely love bombed when you started going to meetings?
Extremely. Well, it was in comparison to Catholicism, yes, because no one really is as high, except for the people that you know. I mean, in a big church, there's like 2,000 people. And St. Michael's is probably like 2,000 people in Brooklyn. But it wasn't, like I said, I have a totally different experience. Like, I don't agree with like some of the big things that they're doing, the Watchtower, but there's also things that I agree, like not going to war. I mean, pretty much a lot of the religions, especially the big Christian religions, go to that.
And we've debated this extensively between ourselves, and it sometimes gets a little emotional because I personally think the Jehovah's Witnesses do engage in war. It just isn't with physical guns and bombs. It's with theocratic warfare. They pride themselves in their theocratic warfare, and instead of using bullets, they use shunning. Instead of using bombs, they use social ostracism.
But and again, to me, every religion does that.
Really? Yes.
I mean, if you go to a small town that is ruled by the Catholics, whatever in a lot of places, whatever the priest says, that's what goes.
In 2020?
Yes, in 2020. So, I mean, it's like, that's why I said, like, if you put one as a cult, then they're all cults. That's how I see it. I'm not saying that the witnesses are good, because they're clearly there's like a completely different religion than when I started. I mean,
you joined in what year?
I started studying like in 95, and I got baptized in 98. But it's like completely different. I mean, before they talk a lot of. I remember my first meeting, they were talking a lot about Jesus. Like, they were reading from the Bible and talking about Jesus. But now it's like governing body, the faithful slave, blah, 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 and Jehovah a couple of times, and then, they basically only talk about Jesus is
In the closing prayer.
well, basically, if the talk is about Jesus, they talk about Jesus. But we went to an assembly like 5 years ago, and we basically could count the amount time they spoke about Jesus. So it's like a totally different religion. So I'm not, into shunning and all this. Like they're going. People that are not even this fellowship, or people that never even got baptized, at times are getting shunned. So that's just insane.
So more than anything else, would you agree with me that the organization and their fruitage is the catalyst for waking up their own members, and the diehards and like the stubbornly, willfully blind ones are remaining, which is their choice.
That's true, but also there's, people fit in different, like some people like the Catholics, some people had a bad experience with the Baptists, and then they move to another one and they feel better there. I think ultimately we're all messed up, and just Jesus come and just wipe out everyone. That's my thinking.
Wipe out everyone?
Yeah, just get it fixed.
No, seriously.
It's true. We're all messed up. So it's like, that's why I said because I, grew up Catholic, but then for a time I consider myself like atheist, because it's like, if everything is so messed up and all those people say that they have God, they don't, like the Pope or whoever, there is no God. But then when I started reading the Bible, I love history. So that's what got me more interested. And some of the things you cannot, how would I say it, fight against it. So that's why I couldn't, I still believe, but there's just so many, this group thinks it's this, or this clique thinks it's this way. So we all have issues, and I guess ultimately we're like all wrong. So I guess that was wrong of me to say that. Jesus come and just fix everyone. That's it. That's like a better way to say it.
Isn't that a very fatalistic way of living and shirking personal responsibility because you think Jesus is just going to come and fix everything? How does that encourage you to have personal responsibility?
When it comes to the religious part.
Well, it is interesting that whenever Jesus was getting angry or righteously indignant and speaking his truth in quote-unquote unkind words like brood of vipers, or maybe that was John the Baptist, but like hypocrites, whitewashed graves, etc., he was always speaking to religious leaders who were claiming to be the messengers and teachers of the law.
And nothing has changed.
So I guess
it's been the same thing as before, like the same way that he was before, the same way like the Jews treated people, the same way the Pharisees, treated the people. It's basically, to me, the Watchtower has become like a mixture of Catholicism and Judaism. To me, that's basically what they are. So
Jews without the E, which stands for empathy.
It's just
JWs.
Instead of having one pope, they have 8. And there's a lot less of them, basically.
And you grew up in New York City, so you were constantly going to Bethel. And so in the late 90s and early 2000s, were they talking a lot about the governing body?
No. It was more...
You would go to Bethel like all the time to get your literature, right?
Yeah. It was more like about the society. They would say something about... But it wasn't like now. Like I said, when they came out with that magazine in 2013, it was July 2013, that they are the only faithful discreet slave or something like that. It was just like it went all downhill. And then the Royal Commission, and just all the money that they're rather pay like for all the lawsuits, and it's like they're not millionaires. It's like it's our money that goes into that. But so it's very sad because most of the people I think are very nice, are extremely nice.
Just like most of the people in Catholicism are probably... What?
Yeah,
See,
like I said,
we're like... He feels towards Catholicism basically what I feel towards...
I don't feel
JW leadership because it's where I came from.
No, in Catholicism, this is my experience, and I've been to a lot of churches.
I mean, there was the Spanish Inquisition, which was horrible.
There was a lot more than that. They kick all the Jews out. I mean, there is a lot of things to
This video
now.
is gonna so get flagged because we've used a lot of trigger words.
Yeah, you can't say Jews, but I said it again.
Shalom. When you say that, who are you referring to?
Well, Spain did kick out the Jews. That's an actual history. They kicked out the Jews or forced them to convert.
True.
When I was in Brooklyn, we were going to church. Some of the things I see in church, I mean, this is back when New York City was extremely bad.
Like Eddie Murphy Coming to America bad.
Like, you know, like killing like over 2,000 murders per year. You know, teenagers will go to church and then like come out right out of church 2 or 3 blocks and they were selling crack or drug, you know, cocaine, whatever. I saw that every week, and it's like everything is okay, like because it's like you go and do your confession, and then you're like, you know, clear for that week, and then you go back and do the same thing. So I don't think it's the same. So I don't hate Catholics. My family, you know, some profess to be Catholic. I don't hate them. I don't view them as like they're. I just think they're done quite a bad things, and a lot of the people do all kinds of things, and everything is okay.
As you can tell, this little chat was not choreographed nor planned. I literally was going to make a video about the Russian ban, and I'm like, hey, you want to say hi? And welcome to our home. Speaking of the Russian ban, do you think Jehovah's Witnesses, the religion, whatever, the organization, should be banned?
I don't think they should be banned. I believe they to put laws like with the protection of the family, like you cannot shun, basically, and you have to report, and if you don't,
which they totally ignore.
Then you don't put the regular people in prison. You ask for the top people.
Yeah, but they can't extradite the governing body and the Watchtower lawyers to Russia and put them in jail. I mean, that would be.
They could. They're part of European Union, so when they fly to Europe, they can ask for them. I mean, they're not part, but it's a European country. There's part of the European courts or something like that. Russia, one of those things. So they can
fact check everything we're saying because I don't even know.
But yeah, when they go, I don't know if they have I don't know if the United States and Russia have to extradite laws with each other, but
in
they
the big
should have it
picture,
with another country.
It's a little fish in a big pond, and world governments have bigger things to worry about.
Well,
and we care because this is the pond we were pickled in, and we see the ripple effect and repercussions and devastation to families.
Yes, but I just feel bad for the average witness that are, just because they were doing what they believe, they are imprisoned and their family is suffering for that. And there's also a lot of attacks with the Christian Orthodox or the Russian Orthodox Church, because they're not doing it just to witnesses.
That is a curtain to look behind.
So, and that's probably the only thing that one of the few things that I don't agree with Russia that is like big.
We're gonna go there too.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I'm very into history and stuff like that, so that's why. Because I like putting. I know a lot of people are gonna be like, oh, whatever, because they live in the United States.
Okay, first my mom takes over my YouTube channel, and now you.
So yeah, so yes, like United States is just as bad or worse. In different ways.
Do you have anything positive to say about anything, institution, religion, government, or otherwise?
A lot of them are messed up, or they start with good intentions, and then as it grows, just like anything. Look at the apostles. They fought. I mean, there were only 12. There were only 12 apostles, and Jesus is in between them, and they were like arguing between each other. So when you get imperfect humans, it might start really good, like a non-profit organization, and then...
Like Jim Jones, he started out good. He was a preacher man who was preaching, like, multicultural, ethnic, people of all colors, let's get together and love each other, and then look what happened. So... So what's the vaccine to fight against cults?
Cult? I don't like that word, personally.
You just called everything a cult.
I said if you call one a cult, you have to call them all a cult.
I think there's a spectrum. Telltale made a really great video on like the 3 levels of cults. He defined it like his language, and it resonated with me. There's a spectrum. Like one could say public school systems are culty because there's a specific agenda and children are pumped into the system and come out supposed to be a certain way. I mean, all right, well, I think we opened up a big can of worms, but this is an introduction, and these are the kind of dialogues we enjoy having with each other and with others. And the point is, like, he can believe what he wants. I don't subscribe to all of his thoughts and beliefs, and vice versa. But I do appreciate that you popped on to say hello. We love people from every background: Catholic, Jehovah's Witness, Jewish, Muslim, everybody. Can we all just get along?
Yeah, if you take like the religious part of it, we just humans basically.
Right.
Like, you know, it's or most, for example, most Jews don't wear. They're not religious and wear any. You know that you can. You know
They're not Hasidic.
Yeah, they're not Hasidic or Orthodox. They don't wear a yarmulke. That's what I was going to say.
It's Saturday. I should probably go to the synagogue. So on that note, you're going to go... Oh, the synagogue might be closed, actually.
Yeah, so, but you didn't let me finish.
Sorry.
I said, so a lot of people don't have something that identify them. So if they don't have wearing something that identify them, you just see them as people. That's why, for example, when I was going to the meetings, one of the best ways to witness was to, not when you were actually doing it, like going door to door. But as I'm afraid I lost the word right now.
Informal witnessing?
Informal witnesses, that's what it was, because they just saw you like as a human being. And the same thing, you saw them as a human being, like for example, when you were at the gym or anything. So a lot of the things with religions, and it's just people putting barriers between themselves.
Yeah, so this was kind of a depressing introduction. So
no, it's not.
But I guess I would say
it's just reality.
If you want a little like injection of hope, I would encourage you to read Psalms 116. Even if you don't believe in the Bible, it's very comforting.
I was gonna say, what's his name of the Jamaican brother?
Oh, Winston.
Yeah, Winston. If you see this, you're my Taino brother. So one day I gotta go there and we're gonna eat mangoes under the tree, and you can make some curry-go, even though you probably don't eat meat. But for me.
Yes, we love Winston. Okay, bye. Shalom. Keep talking.